Hi, good evening. Today my demo is on structure of an atom. So here the word structure. So what is the meaning of structure? The literally meaning of structure, if I talk about any substance, is by what part the substance is made of and how those parts are arranged inside that particular substance. This is called structure. So if I apply it to an atom, that date back to several centuries when the atom was discovered, then the scientists thought of the structure of atom. They thought, is an atom made of any subatomic particles? If so, how those subatomic particles are arranged together to make the structure of an atom. This was the essence of this topic. Now, when several centuries back the atom was discovered, first the scientist Dalton in 1808, he tried to explain the structure of atom through his model called Dalton atomic theory. What Dalton was explaining is, an atom is indivisible. An atom is the smallest fundamental particle. An atom cannot be further subdivided. It was his module, and he further told that an atom is electrically neutral. He had also explained several other postulates behind his Dalton atomic theory, but the main two things are, he told atom is electrically neutral and an atom does not contain any subatomic particle. But Dalton's atomic theory has been rejected because progressively the other scientists have discovered that atom is not indivisible, it contains subatomic particles. If I take an example, the discovery of electrons, J.J. Thompson, another scientist, he has discovered through his discharge tube experiment, which is called cathode ray discharge tube experiment, that an atom contains at least one subatomic particle, which is called electron, and it is negatively charged. Once that is discovered, the theory of Dalton that it is indivisible is rejected. So now the crux came, because atom is electrically neutral, this is true till now. So if it is electrically neutral, how can atom have only one subatomic particle like electron, which is negatively charged? So then progressively another scientist, which called Goldstein, who started discovering a positive charged particle called proton. He made another experiment called also a discharge tube experiment using anode rays, and he found that atom contains another subatomic particle which is positively charged, and the subatomic particle he named as proton. Now the theory of an atom is electrically neutral is established because it was assumed that the number of positively charged particles inside an atom and the number of negatively charged particles inside an atom, that is electron, have an equal numbers in an atom to make it a electrically neutral. So now the things came, once these two subatomic particles were discovered, now the scientists started thinking how these subatomic particles are arranged inside the atom to give it a structure. What is the structure of an atom? So then J.J. Thompson is the first scientist to come with a atomic model where he tried to explain how these subatomic particles are arranged inside the atom. This is the Thompson's atomic model. What Thompson was explaining is, an atom contains pair of positively charged protons and the electrically charged electrons, negatively charged electrons are embedded inside the positively charged protons, like a plum in a pudding model, or we can call it is a watermelon model. In a plum in a pudding model means, if we take a pudding as the white part of the pudding as positively charged protons, then the nuts and the dry fruits embedded on the pudding are regarded as electrons and negatively charged particle. But the thing is, the Thompson's atomic model is also rejected because there is another scientist called Rutherford. Rutherford, he comes with his own model. Rutherford tried an experiment called alpha particles experiment. What he did is he bombarded alpha particles, plus 2 positively charged particle. That means a helium atom, if you remove 2 number of electrons from it, it becomes plus 2 charged particles. So alpha particle, that particle, he bombarded on a thin sheet of gold metal sheet to see what observation he can make. Once he made an experiment, he found that a lot of alpha particle has been passed through the gold sheets, and it captured in a zinc sheet behind the experimental gold sheet. Almost 99.9% of the alpha particle have been passed through the metal sheet. A very few particles have deflected at some angles, plus minus angles, and almost a very few particles, we can say 1 in every 20,000, had retarded its path in 180 degree. Then it was assumed that Rutherford told that how is it possible? If Thompson's model is correct, if it's like a plum in pudding model, if it contains a sphere of positively charged particles, then it is impossible that most of the alpha particle will go through and pass through the thin sheet of metal. He, postulated that no, an atom consists of lot of, spaces, empty spaces inside it, and it contains, because a lot of some few particles, 1 in 20,000 retarded space in 180 degree, it does mean that it contains a small amount of sphere of positive charge which is concentrated at the middle of the atom while the other parts are empty. Then he proved that an atom consists of a sphere of positively charged particle which is called nucleus at the center, while the electrons are moving around in a circular motion. He explained this is the positive charged particle which is concentrated in the center of the atom, and the electrons are moving around the proton or positive charge in a circular motion. But unfortunately, the Rutherford's model is also could not be established. It was also proved wrong by another model, because see, the Rutherford model, although he explained it's a circular motion, he could not explain the stability of atom, because when the electrons are moving in a circular motion around the positively charged protons, because when electrons moving in a circular motions, it emits some radiation in the form of energy. Once he started emitting radiations, then once he emits all its energy, then when all its energy finishes, the electron could have fall into the positive charge center proton or called nucleus, so the atom could not have stable. But we know atom is stable. So the theory of Rutherford's model was also discarded. In between, what happened? In spite of these two subatomic particles, proton and electron, it was thought that the mass of atom, when compared with the proton and neutron's mass, if at all an atom consists of only protons and neutrons, the mass of an atom is quite different from the mass of the proton and neutron together. So it was assumed that no, the atom consists of some other subatomic particle which may be electrically neutral, because the mass of the atom and mass of proton and neutrons together is not matching. So another scientist came, Chadwick, who discovered that there is another subatomic particle that contains in an atom, that is called neutrons. When neutrons, protons, electrons mass is added together, it is matching with the mass of the atom. So now it is established that there are 3 subatomic fundamental particles inside an atom, mainly proton, neutron and electrons. Now another scientist, Bohr, who came and gave his postulate, that Bohr's theory of how the structure of atom how the subatomic particles, electron, protons and neutrons are being inside an atom accommodated. According to Bohr, he told that the neutrons and protons both together are concentrated at the center of the atom, which is called nucleus, and around the nucleus the electrons are moving around the nucleus in a certain fixed orbits. He discarded the theory of circular motion. He told that it moving around the proton plus neutron, which is nucleus, but in a certain fixed orbit, and those orbits have a certain energy levels. Those orbit he named. The first orbit is named as n is equal to 1. The second orbit is named as n is equal to 2. Third orbit named n is equal to 3. And the n is equal to 1, the first orbit is named at k cell. Second is L cell or L orbit, m, and progressively n, like that. So here he established or explained the stability of an atom, because he told that it is moving in a certain fixed orbit with a certain energy level. And he further explained that while moving in a certain orbit, the electron does not emit or absorb radiation while moving in that particular orbit. But when it jumps from one orbit to orbit, when it jumps to a lower orbit, it emits radiations. While it jumps to higher orbit, it gains radiations. So basically, this is the what about brief about the structure of atom. Thank you very much.